Subscribe to 15 Second Spotlight on YouTube and to wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, welcome back to 15 Seconds Festival Spotlight. I'm your host, Dania Jimenez. I'm a professional development coach and a brand content strategist based in LA. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with a fellow Californian. Very excited about this. We have Dave Benton, founder of Metajive, on the podcast. Hi, Dave.
Hi, how are you, Jen?
I'm so good. Thanks for being here. Excited to talk more about you and your creative pursuits and also Metajive. You know, it's a digital design and technology studio, and I'm excited to hear about the work that y'all are doing. And if you wouldn't mind for the listeners, you've been a speaker at 15 Seconds Festival before, right?
Yeah, I was. I went to Graz in 2021, and it was super fun. It was such an incredible time, such an incredible festival. You can also get ice cream with espresso poured over it, phenomenal. And then the whole team there, just like it is one of the best speaking experiences I've ever had. They just treated everyone so well, everything's so well planned. And then I also will not forget the after party. That was just
I heard those are pretty epic.
It's a warehouse. It's essentially a rave. Like,
couldn't expect anything more from the Austrians. Yeah, I would love to hear a little bit more. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how you got to where you are in your career. So I'd love to hear how you came to founding Metajive and what that journey was like for you.
Yeah, and we can come back to this in a second, but I want to dovetail the 15 seconds journey in Austria to actually, that's where I got to know three guys who are now my business partners a lot better. So that'll come into the journey. So I talked about Pixel Perfect, which is a part of Metajive and Metajive family.
Yeah.
15 seconds really foster those relationships.
I love hearing that.
So, okay. So if we go back to where we started, Metajive essentially started as an accident. I think I even said out loud multiple times, the only thing I know what I want to do when I graduate college is not work for myself. That just kind of happened.
Yeah.
So even before I graduated, I had done a few freelance web design gigs. I'd made a snowboard company's website for 2 snowboards. I only got paid 1, which is like welcome to freelance life. And then I was graduating. I was working. I had a couple small clients, and then I kind of turned 25 and said, "Oh my God, I need to be more focused, figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, and get serious about this." I moved to San Francisco because that's like, especially 2010. No, 2005. 2005 was like the hub of the interactive world. In many ways, it still is, right?
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is just a place you can't live without. And I got really lucky. My first year in business, which wasn't really in business. It was me being a freelancer. I was actually still kind of looking for jobs, but I got 3 back-to-back really good contracts. I helped rebuild, I can say, the world's preeminent theme park experience online for a place everyone's gone. It's got a lot of rodents around.
Yeah.
I got asked to help build a website for a friend of a friend who was working at Banana Republic, and they wanted to hire a person, not an agency, because it was never going to be successful. Then it turned out to be Project Runway, which was kind of like everywhere.
Yeah.
A year. And then I helped another agency with a pitch, and they said, "Oh, thanks for the help on the pitch. Can you help us? Like, what else do you want to work on that we have?" And they were working on the launch of the Xbox 360. So as like a 25-year-old guy, I was like, yeah, I want to work on the big video game thing that's the zeitgeist right now.
Yeah. It's like a pinnacle moment, especially in, at that point in your career.
Yeah, that was really fun. And then I also just had a really interesting time looking for work in those days, whether as a freelancer or becoming an agency. Actually, that Project Runway, they had to pay a company, so I had to incorporate Metajive at the time for that. So that's our incorporation moment, and that's when I became a we, me and the company, and it was a really weird time because the internet was a thing. People knew what it was, but it wasn't what it is today. And people actually expected like a paper portfolio. I had this like sketchbook that I turned into a portfolio instead of having an online website to talk about websites I built. So,
made so much sense at the time. We were all very like paper driven.
Yeah, but it's been an amazing journey, and everything from kind of that point forward happened real naturally. I moved from San Francisco to San Diego 2 years later, and it's where I met someone who's still one of the partners we work with today, and we grew together from me being a guy designing and developing and him being a developer. We've both grown companies through that, and like I owe them just the absolute world to get us where we were. We all grew up together in this industry. And we've kind of naturally grown through peaks and valleys. The last 18 years of really just trying to make clients, partners, friends, solve hard problems, like really understanding what it takes to deliver value, because that's something that's a lot easier said than done, and really to understand like how and why, and build a framework to just deliver a really good product, if you will. And the mission hasn't changed. The name Metajive is about like the meta is the planning and the wireframes and the technology and the nerdy part, and the jive is the art and the fun and spontaneous.
Yeah.
Thing that makes it exciting and something you want to engage in. But because that's happened for 20 years, it's like delivering that is much different than it was as a kid.
At the inception. Yeah, I'm curious to hear about that. As you know, you were talking about the peaks and the valleys. Where you know, as a founder of an agency, as it's kind of grown through this time, where are you in your personal journey as a leader of an organization that continues to grow?
It's really, really exciting. I have the best management team I've ever had in my life. And even saying like I have a management team is something that's new and foreign to me.
Yeah.
Over the last, I've had a lot of people that have helped. We've had incredible people work in the studio, but it's really been myself. My wife is our COO. She just really helps drive and keep this place operational.
Yeah.
And then we are able to just keep going. So having this management team, but over the last 5 years, we've really transformed as a company. We've really been able to push forward. We have larger clients that expect more, but they've enabled me to bring in people like our executive creative director, who is a mentor to me in the past. We actually delivered work for him at his old company, and now we're super fortunate to have him. We have another person who was a client of ours come in, be our director of production. Paige is just terrific. We have a CFO from places that like I just go like, those were the biggest and best, like, you know, ad agency holding company.
Yeah.
Ooh, I could never imagine that. And just the whole team is just really leveled up. It's really, really exciting to be surrounded by incredible people at all levels. And then I've also it's really rewarding to see, particularly staff who have been here for a long time. And I almost never say staff. I always want to refer to everyone as team, because we are like,
yeah.
I work with people. No one works for me. It's like, this is one thing, but seeing those people grow is so exciting. And especially when you kind of have those moments where you're like, oh, wow, you do this now, you know this, you just corrected me, and you are on a game. And it's just really exciting to see people get in that moment.
Is that, and this is an interesting thread just in two of the things that you've said, you know, you incorporated at a moment when it was required, and then it sounds like you brought in clients and then it allowed you to grow, you know, your management team or the bench of folks around you. And I find that that's an interesting theme in, you know, as a founder, as a someone who's scaling or growing a company, that you have these ideas, right? You have a vision for where you're trying to go, and then there are these moments that kind of like push you forward, that like these are things that you want, they're things that you're envisioning, and then you also have these like catalyst moments that are like, and it's now. You thought maybe it was 6 months.
Yeah, I definitely am familiar with, and it's now. We did a lot of work with T-Mobile in 2022, and we hired 12 people in 3 months.
Yeah,
and it was this incredible experience. It's this incredible opportunity. I love the idea of building. I love what we do. I love hiring people that are just like so much more talented than I was in any individual facet. We were able to hire Michael Jackson, who is our UX director, who is like, he essentially ran Saatchi and Toyota's UX department. He's just this incredible human being that's so smart and talks about heuristic design research and all these things and qual and quant. I'm just like, whoa, you lost me. I'm so glad you understand this. and I'm really, really excited and motivated by the fact of delivering more and like really are embracing this team mentality of like, we can deliver so much more than any one person could. And actually like it's turned into a platform in some sense.
Yeah.
And then as we work through this, like you said, there's these moments of inflection, these moments where we get to just like push forward really, really, really fast.
Yeah.
That is a really exciting time. It never feels like it in the moment because you're never prepared for.
It's messier than we think it's gonna be a little bit, you know, and we try to keep it like more in the line, you know, in the box, following kind of a trajectory. And I think that that's an important thing I wanted to point out in our conversation, is that it's messier. It's less planned than you anticipate it to be, but then you get there and you have to, I don't know. I used to, pardon my French, we used to say it's like figure it the fuck out. Like you get there and you're going and you got to trust yourself in those moments.
Totally. I love it. And we use GSD, which is get shit done.
Yeah.
And we say that a lot, and we really get through things, and you do, like, the entrepreneurial journey is a place where you need to figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
And as you go through that process, one of actually the things I realized was the hardest part as we hired all those people for T-Mobile and scaled really fast is when you grow slow, you have a lot of people coming along the journey. So right, as I talked about Rob or Christy, who've been with us for almost 5 years now, both incredible individuals, like they know it cold. They know exactly what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I looked around the room at one point, I was like, oh my God, the average tenure of this company is like 9 months or something, because so many people were so new, and it averages to 0. And even thinking in the statistics of like the average tenure per employee, like it's not how you want to think, but it's more just like everyone in the room is new and no one knows what's going on. So more mistakes happen. But as you get, like, it's almost, if you could grow slow and steady year on year, like that would be a gift. That has never been my gift. We've always had sprints and dips and sprints and dips. But as you get bigger too, it also gets more sustainable because more process gets hardened. All of these things, they tell you that you think like you're building a corporation, and we built a corporation. We have about 40 people that are like all experts in their field, but it's always come from a place of like, how can we just build a better website, build a better app, build a digital product?
Yeah.
And like, who do we need to just get better at that? It's never been about getting bigger. Bigger is not the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, to your point, and we talked about it a little bit before, is like there's this like slingshot effect. You look around the room and you're like, oh my gosh, nobody in here kind of knows the like Metajive way of approaching a process, which can be scary, but it can also be very exciting because you do get to build or, integrate new processes or new ideas. And that ends up being, better than what it was, or at least new, right? Because there's more input into what's unfolding for folks. And as you said, you guys work on delivering what's the next great experience. What does that look like? And I want to talk a little bit about that, about how you deliver great experiences as a partner to your clients. Like, what does that look like for you?
So I think it's exciting, and I think just where you were going with the ideas and new like infusion of life in the company.
Yeah.
Having that management team, like I was just talking about, is so exciting because, right, you have so many people with so much experience, and it's great to go like, yes, let's go do that. Let's go do that. There is a sense where you get like your eyes are bigger than your stomach, and you're like, let's go do all of those things. And one of the things I've learned kind of the hard way is like, we can't go do 30 things at once. So it's always like, let's go do this, then we'll do that. And we have to be really diligent about making roadmaps of how to integrate these things. And when people are like, why don't we do this? It's like, that's on the roadmap. We're definitely planning on doing it, but you can't change all at once. And it's kind of like being a teenager where you're like, no, I'm a new person now. Like I'm bigger, stronger, cuter, whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
And then like, you really don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So like, you have to work through it. You have to try some things that aren't going to work. But
yeah. You got your goth day, your jock day. You're trying different outfits on to see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were more grunge than goth in our days. I like, skateboarding or a jock or whatever. We got that. And as a company and as a person, I've gone through all of the awkward phases.
Yeah.
And being successful as a company is a really interesting, it's really fun to be on a winning team.
Yeah.
It's really obnoxious to be a winner and be that guy. That's another lesson that I just hold really, really tight. But to your point or your question about like delivering experiences, one of the things that I think makes what we make special for our partners, we don't use the word client, we use the word partners, for both people who work for us and with us and because we want to come in as peers and warn everyone that I can be an absolute pain in the butt, and there's a lot of people here who can, but they're all doing it with the absolute best interest of the project and whatever we were tasked to do. If that's increase ROI, change this conversion rate, inform people of this, like we're going to fight for whatever we think the right thing is. And it takes a real partner because if you have a client who hires an agency to like be an order taker, like we're a terrible fit for that.
Yeah.
But we look at every project and we have a wide array of deliverables, not just in what we build, but in how we engage. Where we have retained teams with large financial clients. We have fixed fee projects like everyone else expects. We have just development engagements. We have consulting. We just go like, I don't care what you want from us as long as we're going to make a fair deal to deliver the best we can, and everyone who's contributing to that project is that. So it doesn't matter. Like we try to take all ego out of the equation and just go like, how are we a better partner? So even though every project's different, because we know how to work each of the pieces, we're happy to just take steps A and E or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
you're comfortable with modulating the process at this point. You can go, okay, you just want A and E, and we can do that for you pretty cleanly.
Yeah. And I just got off a call where we said like, they go, oh, well, we might want this or we want that. I go, we're just going to give you the list and just choose what you want us to do, and we'll do those things. Because again, we need to come from a place where we're experts so we can provide that really deep value for them. And it's also common for, unfortunately, I learned this lesson later because it's really hard to say no to really good opportunities that you're not set up for success. You never really win when you just go like, oh, such a good opportunity. We can make all this money. We can do whatever. We can work for Nike, whatever it is. And then it's like, yeah, but we're not really good at that. So like, they're never going to want to work with us again. We're not actually going to make that much money because we're going to spin out in the back.
How do you move through those decisions, right? Because you're saying that with like hindsight, which I really appreciate, and I'm sure the listener appreciates too, is that, yeah, when you look back, you go, oh, that's a huge name. That's going to rocket us forward. In those moments, do you give yourself time? Like, do you give yourself a day or so to then respond to the opportunity? Or like, how do you sit with that within your own body? Like, what's your decision-making process look like, if that makes sense?
I never give myself a day. Like, that's not that is not my mode. It's right. I'm kind of an always forward type of person. I've built a great network of people who are like, hey, like, we really got to think about if we can do this or why. My framework now really is just about success for all parties and going like, can we deliver this for this person? Can we do this well? Like, it's less about being unique and differentiating and those things. It's just going, are we absolutely experts? Can we deliver? And if the answer is yes, we're going to. And if it's not, we're not. In fact, I said Nike, which is the only client I would ever say, if they ask you to do something for free, just do it. Because if you can design the Christmas party flyer for the shoelace end cap department, and you get to put them on there, that is the only company we've ever worked for where people went, oh my, whoa, you're a player now.
And then I think for folks who work in creative, we know it's like there's 1,000 agencies that work on Nike, and they, to the extent that, some people are making flyers and they're like, we're a Nike agency. But it has so much cachet, I think, to folks because it's one of the, most well done brands. I think it's one of the ones you think about when you're trying to understand brand, you come back to Nike. So that makes sense to me. And I want to kind of go back to what you were saying earlier about the relationship, the partner relationship. Because I think totally to what you're saying is that folks need to hear some things sometimes, right? And the delivery matters so much. I find, at least in my personal experience, I say difficult things to people all the time. I give people feedback all of the time on their personal branding and how they show up in front of a camera and all of these different things. And the delivery matters so much. If you have kind of a lighter tone and you, I don't know, if it's just coming from a heartfelt place, the client, the partner can feel it in a different way than just like harsh criticism, like egoism kind of driving things, right? So I feel like that's so important in that relationship, that partner relationship is like respect, but also just like a bond so that you can deliver these, inflection points, these harder conversations that have to happen in the process of any project, right?
If you want to create greatness, you have to work through mediocrity because nothing starts at an even good spot. It starts at a mediocre spot. And what's as important as everything else you said too is trust and context. And a great example is it's internal, not external, but Rob, my creative director, is someone I just adore. He will come to me all the time and say, Dave, you're not going to agree with this, but here's why I think you should re-listen to this. Because he's heard all of my thinking and he really understands my point of view. And we aim to do that for all of our partners and go like, all right, here, like, you're about to do something that we don't think is in the best interest of the project. And again, when you frame everything and you frame it in their perspective right away, that I think we really need to focus on this item. This is important. That's important. Here's what you tasked us to do originally. We want to change that. Let's change that and let's agree we're changing and what the goal is. But if the goal is still X, let's make sure we make a decision that supports this.
I think that's such a powerful example. And you're right. you're putting yourself, and that's why you build great experiences, is because you have the capability of putting yourself in the end user's shoes, right? Like that's that kind of projection, but doing that for your client of being like, or your partner, I know you're not going to love to hear this, but da 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 da. I think, yeah, it just lands in such a softer way. I went in-house. I was always in an agency role, and I went in-house at an agency at one point, and then went back to agency life. And being able to say, hey, I was the marketing director on this, or I was that, like, I've had your job and I know what your stresses are, it's like a golden ticket to creating that trust.
Also, when you start there, you're saying, hey, I understand. Like, I've thought about your position.
Yeah.
Like, I've shown some empathy into where you're coming from, and I think I understand where you are.
Of course, there's nuances that I don't, but yeah, when you start there, I read a client the other day, and it was like our second time talking. She goes, "You don't know me," but she was laughing, and I go, "Oh, I kind of do, but I'm going to hear you out on a lot of things. I want you to tell me about yourself because I'm genuinely curious, but yeah, I have a feel for who you might be, early on."
Another great approach there too, as you're working through tougher topics, is like, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong and any of this. And when you just tell them, like, I'm totally open.
Yeah.
I don't want to be right. I want to have the right answer.
Yes.
And so, like, here's how I understand this. So if I'm wrong, then my underlying math might be wrong of how we get here. So again, like, but let's do the work to go through the levels to understand how do we make a great decision.
I love how we turn this into this was a comms 101. I was like, yeah, you do have to have some tough conversations, and here's some linguistic ways to have those conversations, because they're never going to go away. I think that was something I thought early in my career, is like, oh, these conversations will get easier, and they don't get easier. You just have had more of them. And so you have, different ways of navigating. I am curious at this juncture, what's exciting you right now from a creativity standpoint? Obviously, you're leading this agency that creates all of these wonderful experiences for your partners. But from a creativity standpoint and your own sort of creative engine, what's something that either content you're consuming or a project that you're excited about putting out into the world?
Oh, there's a lot. So I think when you're running a studio, you need to be excited about lots of things, and I just naturally am. I'm just interested in learning and understanding things. So I think I'm really interested in one thing we didn't get to talk about is when we talk about creating great experiences, we quantify that as, we talked a lot about making the product, but we also talk about a great client experience, a great partner experience, and like my partner, my wife's metric is like, do these people want to have a beer with us when we're done with this project? Is that something we do? And then the employee experience, and like really shepherding and taking care of people, providing career growth. There's a million things to quantify there. Media I'm ingesting. I'm always listening to podcasts. So Scott Galloway's podcast, I think any guy 20 to 35 should be listening to that to understand their place in the world, how business works, how life works. Lots of inappropriate jokes as well. So that's great. I listened to a really good episode of Rick Rubin's podcast with Travis Barker. And I'm not like some huge Me fan, but
yeah,
I was blown away at his depth of character, and his story is just wild, from him being a full addict to being in this plane crash.
The crash, yeah.
That is a really, really powerful episode. And then
I'll have to check that out.
I'm really excited as well about like being a parent. Like being a parent, being buddies with my 7-year-old daughter is just like so fun, and going like, how do I apply the same mission of create great experiences in my life? How do I be a great husband? How do I be a great father? Which is way easier to say than to do, because kids are kids, right? And they have loads of energy. And then for like personal expression, I've learned I like things that are hard. I like to be bad at things for apparently a very long time.
Wow. That's rare. Most people don't love being bad at things.
Well, I should say I stated that I don't love being bad at things, but I'm willing to be bad at things.
You're willing. Yep. It's your attitude towards being bad. Okay. I like that.
And I think it's not that I like being bad at things. I like progression. So if you pick something easy, like you're pretty good at it pretty fast.
Yeah.
And if you pick something really hard, then there's a lot of things to work on. And you that process of learning and failing and driving is all really great. I actually heard a story about Michael Jordan learning to ski, and the ski instructor was just like, I've never had someone ask for more details on where they did things wrong. And apparently he got pretty good pretty fast. But then, so I've gotten to do a few woodworking projects.
Oh.
And it's really fun to make something physical because
with your hands. Isn't that fun?
My whole work life is these digital things that are never done.
Pixels,
and, right, when you build a box, it's done. When you build something bigger, and especially, it turns out it's really hard. Like if you want to miter corners and make like something, there's all the specific tool, and then everything's its own experiment, and
there's math involved. Ew.
I'm good with the math. That's what I've learned after high school. I learned I'm good at math.
You're good at it, yeah. Oh, I love the woodworking. Yeah, I worked in residential and commercial real estate for a really long time on the marketing, the creative side. But that was one of the things I loved about that work was that I get to point at the sky in San Francisco and Los Angeles, Honolulu, and say, oh, I worked on that building and that one and that one. Like they're real. It's very tangible, and it is a different experience than some of the digital stuff that we work on.
Yeah, it's really fun when you can create a space. I think the thing I'm most proud of that I've actually got to build is my COVID freak out project, because everyone's like, oh my God, I need something to do.
Yeah.
We had a really stressful COVID time. Was I just kind of decided to build a treehouse in my backyard, but I built an 8 by 16 foot treehouse that was 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
And it just felt really aligned with my mission of like creating great experiences and like creating this really high place that's going to get used for a long time, that has something. I designed it to kind of be like architecturally significant, and like feel like I just want to keep doing that. I moved since then. I've redrawn what the new treehouse should be like 10 times. I got a bunch of pretty cool
I love that. That's what the future holds, more tree houses.
I hope so. Yeah. I think like that's like kind of my dream retirement job, is like start a treehouse building company for whoever needs tree houses and like
epic tree houses, a well designed, a great experience of a tree house. I love that.
Yeah. I even bought the domain fortlloydwright.com. So, yeah. And then, right, I've got all these ideas for like Alexa integrations and things like that. So it could be like, Alexa, lower the drawbridge, or like, turn on the smoke machine. Like, I figure for like a kid, you could probably do so many things that are so fun.
So delightful, right? Like, yeah, things that they'll remember forever.
Yeah. And I just think that would be super cool, whether that's at someone's house or someone's, like, I'd love, like, a dream would be like doing that for free for like Rady's Children's Hospital or something, and just be like, a bunch of really awesome kids are going to get to use this treehouse.
Yeah.
And just create a memorable space that's different than everywhere else.
Well, thank you, Dave, for talking to me a little bit more about Metajive and all of the ways that you're growing in your own entrepreneurial journey, and totally giving a 101 on how to communicate with your partners, be they creative, be they in your personal life. Like, how do we have these tough conversations in the most compassionate way possible? Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolutely delightful to get to know you.